'Tis the season to list the greatest games. Merry Christmas, everyone. Sorry, I know it's after Christmas, but I couldn't resist, okay? But anyway, welcome to the top 10 games of 2015. This list will be purely based on personal opinion and nothing else. So if you disagree with my choices, then just remember that these are my opinion and nothing else. But without further ado, let's begin with number 10. Soma. Welcome to the next big game by the company that brought us the famous Amnesia, and my god does this game equal Amnesia in quality. I've seen many horror games in recent years, some good, some bad, but this one really surprised me, because when I first heard of this game, I thought, oh, this is just going to be another sort of Dead Space type game, isn't it? But no. The game we got was much different to what I expected, with a very unique horror feel to it that not many other horror games have achieved in recent years except games like Dead Space. Not only this, but the graphics as well are absolutely fantastic. How a company like this makes graphics this good and makes the game run so smoothly is beyond me, but they did, and this just adds to the great immersion of this title. The game also has a great story that really gets you asking questions, which I can't really say because that would be a spoiler, but still, the whole time this game was advancing I was just asking the same questions as the protagonist because he is just as confused as we are, and in that respect this game absolutely succeeded. Number 9. Rocket League. Let's play some football, but instead of using men and footballs and pitches and referees, let's use rocket propelled cars, giant robo-footballs and a huge arena instead. And you know what? That's not a bad idea. Turns out that throwing a bunch of rocket cars in an arena and a big football in the middle and blowing a whistle can turn into a pretty crazy fun competition. And what else is there really to say about it? The game has lots of cool unlockables, the car customization is good, and the gameplay is great fun, especially with friends. The game does suffer from the issue of repetition and the lack of game modes, but this still hardly hurts the enjoyment of the game, and as a result, I absolutely recommend it. Number 8. Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. The first expansion on our list, and what a good one it is. Like, I love the Binding of Isaac games and have sunk hundreds of hours into the games, and Afterbirth didn't stop this time sink, with many more playthroughs to be had and a bunch of new items to be unlocked, new challenges to play and new characters to play as well, which makes playing random more fun as well. So in conclusion, if you like Rebirth and haven't bought this expansion yet, then I absolutely recommend that you do. Number 7.
I will fight with honor for Doomhammer.
Hearthstone the Grand Tournament. Yeah, that's 2 expansions, and this one is on here for good reason. I've sunk many hours into Hearthstone, and when a new expansion comes out that gives me many more cards to collect, decks to build, games to play, etc. And this expansion did just that. The addition of the new mechanics as well is very awesome, because I thoroughly enjoy using the Inspire cards and the synergy to be had there. The mechanics do seem to suffer from not being very good, as neither really have many decks built around them in the higher ranks, but then again most decks suffer from this problem. But in the end, this expansion was a great success and added lots of new fun cards to the game. Number 6. Until Dawn, the game that I wish was on PC, but so far we are yet to see a PC port of this title. Until Dawn is often referred to as an interactive movie, and this is because the game has little to no gameplay apart from QuickTime events. Everything else is just moving around and making choices, but still, this doesn't affect the quality of this title. The game has an interesting choice system and makes a pretty good attempt at the butterfly effect, whereby each choice will send you more on your own path. Another thing that I love about this game is that the graphics were some of the best I've seen in video games last year, with the characters looking and animating very realistic, which only adds to the atmosphere. The game does suffer from a few problems such as the lack of gameplay and the butterfly effect not being significant enough, and that the game's PS4 exclusive. I wish it wasn't, but it is. But still, it earns a spot on my list. Number 5. Prison Architect. It finally came out of early access, guys. After a long 3 years, it's finally ready. But jokes aside, this game is absolutely stellar. If you love builder style strategy games with a lot of replayability, then I would absolutely recommend this title, because it does a great job of being a prison management game. The game allows for prisons to hold hundreds of prisoners and can be designed to the liking of the player, and offers many tasks to the player while they are building and expanding their prison to great sizes. Not only all of this, but the fact that you can use the Steam Workshop with this game as well is absolutely fantastic, as it allows for many more playthroughs and diversity in gameplay. And this is why I put this game at number 5 on my list. Number 4. Dragon Ball Xenoverse. It's been a very long time since a Dragon Ball fan has had cause to celebrate, and finally they can with the release of this fantastic Dragon Ball game. For too long, Dragon Ball fans have been without the next big Dragon Ball title, but this game came out and changed all that, with its practically flawless combat system and incredible graphic style. I say the combat is flawless because finally a Dragon Ball game allows me to pull off killer combos just like in the TV show, and it really gives me a rush whenever I do something that just makes me go, that was awesome. The game does suffer from issues like the fact that you need to be online to connect to the servers, but then again most games suffer from this type of thing. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because this game is a rare occurrence indeed. Oh, and by the way, finally, we get a Dragon Ball game where I can transform my character into a Super Saiyan. Thank Christ for that. Number 3.
Glorious combat is upon us.
Starcraft II Legacy of the Void. Yep, that's the 3rd expansion on this list. I know, this year's been prosperous for expansions. But anyway, Legacy of the Void is arguably the best expansion released for Starcraft II so far, adding a bunch of new features which could keep you playing for months on end. The addition of co-op missions is great, as it allows for friends to work together in a campaign style mission, which can be a great deal of fun, especially when your heroes are max level and you can play on the higher difficulties. The new in-game features are also great, as they have changed the game drastically, but still have maintained a highly enjoyable system that doesn't slow down often and keeps both players on their toes all game long. Another thing as well is that the campaign is absolutely fantastic. Like, all the campaigns are pretty good, but this one is arguably the best one yet, which is pretty damn impressive. The new units as well are a great addition to the game because they are a great deal of fun to use. Some may be used a bit less than others, like the Cyclone and the Disruptor, but they are still good units and can be great fun to use in game. And one last thing is that the addition of Archon mode is fantastic as well, both for the player base and for the game's esports scene. There are a few problems with this mode, such as the fact that there's no Archon matchmaking, and finding a good partner is hard as they have to be a similar league to you for the game to be properly balanced, but still, the mode is great and the expansion is still arguably the best one Blizzard have released to date. Number 2. Five Nights at Freddy's. Now I know what you're thinking, but Five Nights at Freddy's came out in 2014. Well, I'm still putting it on the list because FNAF 3 and 4 came out in 2015, and that is good enough for it to be on the list. Bear in mind that during this point I will mostly be talking about the series in general, as I feel talking about the individual games is pointless. Five Nights at Freddy's is my favourite video game and franchise on the planet. It is my favourite game ever made, and when it comes to horror games, I feel that FNAF is the greatest game ever made. You know, when Five Nights at Freddy's first came out, I didn't think much of it. I saw it on YouTube and thought it was just a cool, new, unique horror game. But little did I know, what I was watching would become my life in the next few months. When I started researching more about the game, I learned that the main point of the game wasn't the gameplay itself, but the hidden story within the world that is never actually told except through little clues here and there. I got more and more interested in the game until soon I was hooked. And then something happened. One day I found something on the internet, which I won't tell you what it was because that's kind of personal, but what I found changed my life forever. And that is one of the reasons why I put FNAF as my favourite game of all time, because few games have changed my life. Not only all of this, but I haven't even talked about the gameplay yet. I have to say that the only actual FNAF game that I have played is FNAF 4, but since all the games are pretty similar, I feel that that is enough. And I have to say, the gameplay of FNAF is absolutely fantastic, because the whole game long I was on the edge of my seat, and every scare was as scary as the last. And it's rare that a horror game keeps you scared until the end, as most horror games get old after a while. The extra content that can be acquired after completing the 5 nights as well is also fantastic, as not only does it provide more challenging content, but it adds even more onto the already complex story, giving people a good reason to keep playing and strive for success. So in conclusion, 5 Nights at Freddy's is my favourite game of all time, and I'm stoked for FNAF World. Say what you will about that game, but personally, I can't wait. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, number 1. Undertale. I'm sure that a lot of you saw this coming, but I certainly didn't. You know, when I first heard of this game, I thought nothing of it. I assumed it was just another cool indie game with a fanbase. But then one day I looked on Metacritic, and saw that Undertale was the highest rated PC game of 2015, and that's when I knew I needed to try the game for myself, and what I experienced next was something that changed my life forever. First off, I played the neutral route, and by the end of that playthrough, I was amazed at the whole experience, and especially the ending, which I would not spoiler for anyone. But then I played the pacifist route, and I have to say, the whole time I was enjoying myself a great deal, and when I got to the final boss, I was in awe at what was happening. I won't spoiler anything, don't worry, but I do have to say, when I beat the final boss and got the final cutscene, I had never felt so emotional over a video game in my life. And to be honest, I may or may not have shed a tear during that cutscene, because that's what this game does to you. It gets you connected to the characters and makes you care and feel for them. And I also have to say that after getting the pacifist ending, I haven't played the game since, because I know that if I reset the game, then it will all disappear and feel meaningless, and that's what Undertale does. It plays with the player, it makes them part of the game, and few other games do that. The game does have a few problems, I admit, such as the enemy variety is fairly small, the combat, inverted commas, can be a bit repetitive at times, but you know what, it doesn't matter. And one last thing is the soundtrack to this game. It has to be one of, if not the best, soundtrack that I have heard in video games up to this point. And I feel that it deserves recognition because of just how good it sounds. So there you go folks, Undertale is my top game of 2015, and also my new second favourite game of all time, just behind 5 Nights at Freddy's. So there you go folks, this has been my top 10 favourite games of 2015. If you don't own some of these games yet, then I give all of them my recommendation. So thank you for watching guys. 2015 was a pretty good year for the channel, and I hope that 2016 is even better. So I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.